Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Career Transition Show. I'm going live again today. I'm actually doing some A B testing because I've been running this call in show on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern and now on Fridays at 12 p.m. Eastern, just because I've had a lot of high demand in terms of people wanting to be my guest, trying to accommodate time zones and just seeing what works best here. It's the product manager in me that loves to do the A B testing and experiment. But of course, some of you know me, but some of you don't. My name is Nada Bohendi. I'm a career transition expert, and I used to be an agile coach as well as a product leader. I turned into a career coach because I was frustrated with not enjoying my life and work. And I realized that my sweet spot is actually helping people overcome imposter syndrome and land jobs that they love. All right. So, what is this career transition call in show about? It's for you, my listeners. It's to answer your questions. Think Dr. Phil, think Oprah Winfrey, think Matthew Hussey. There's so many platforms where you can actually call in and ask for expert advice, whether it's for health or for relationships, but there aren't call in shows where people actually can call in and ask a career related question. And so I decided to basically create the space so that people can ask questions, especially in this insane, environment where people feel a lot of uncertainty in terms of layoffs. And maybe there are a lot of people who cannot afford, to work with a career coach or professional. So I created this platform so that, more people can get help versus trying to ask friends and maybe getting the wrong advice. Now, if you watch this and you really enjoy this, I need a favor from you. I want you to go in on Spotify or Apple Podcast, and I want you to check out my podcast because that is where you're going to see all of these episodes. So if you missed this one or if you're curious about ones that I've done before, then I definitely invite you to do that. In fact, I'm going to quickly share my screen here so I can show you um, basically how to get there, right? So this is how you get there. This is my career transition, podcast on Spotify. There's a ton of episodes that you can go through, whether it is what's holding you back from your career transition, identifying your career sweet spot, even, advice around storytelling and building your resume. So lots of good stuff here that you can definitely check out. Or if you are an Apple person like me, then you can totally check it out also on Apple. And huge, huge, huge favor. If you really love any of these episodes and think I should do more of them, then I highly encourage you to leave me a review because when I get more reviews, then more people are going to be able to access this and I'll be able to also do this in a sustainable way. Lastly, what I wanted to say that if you want an easy way to find my podcast, you can actually go on nadabohendi slash podcast. So I'm going to actually drop this in the chat so you can access it, um, whether it is, now or after the show. All right, friends. So we got three brave souls, or rather, two brave souls who volunteered so far. And we have more coming in to basically ask me a question. And the first person that I'm going to bring in who enthusiastically volunteered is Selma. So, Selma, I'm going to bring you now, on stage, and you can ask me anything. How's it going, my friend?
Hi, Nada. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited about this.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have you too. I know we've exchanged a few messages and, we have a lot of similarities. So, definitely pumped to have you and be able to give you the space and support you. All right, Selma, why don't you share with me, what is the big question you have right now in terms of your career? What can I do for you? What are we trying to solve?
Okay, so a quick introduction about myself. I started my professional career in 2008 in digital marketing. I moved to product. My first job was actually in 2015, but at
Wow.
That point of time, the new terminologies that, PRD was just a document and sprint planning was just a daily meeting. So it was a bit easier at that point of time. Uh, After that, I decided that I want to do this the right way. So I went to product school. I took everything by book, and now I looking for relocation to Netherlands. So I
Wow.
started to look like what to do, advices from people and career coaches and people that actually relocated to Netherlands. I hear the common things: networking, personal branding, and I actually refuse to do that. I don't think
Oh,
that this is my job.
Selma, you're hilarious.
I love people, but just to be able to talk to people, and everybody that I talk to, they always tell me that I dig deeper, I ask so many personal questions, and I care about people, but not for the sake of, hi, please refer me to this job. I'm not that kind of person. What I really want to be in the AI. So I'm now in I'm taking a nano degree in AI product management. And I love data, and I worked in data products before, either in open source intelligence or first party data. And yes, so relocation, and I apply like all the LinkedIn jobs that I think I'm interested in, and I apply for, but I don't get any feedback.
Okay, gotcha. So there's so many like little things here that we're trying to solve. Okay, what is your highest priority right now? Like, is it you want to learn more, or do you want to find something like as soon as possible?
I need to be fulfilled, and I think that having a job that I actually love, and I think and making impact is my priority.
That is
I am
amazing.
Netherlands because it's a tech hub. It's nice. It's close to where I live in Egypt, and I think it's the perfect city for me to relocate.
That is nice. I love that you did that research and made that determination. A lot of people underestimate the impact of environment on them. And I think that is absolutely important. You gotta live in a place where that brings you joy, first of all, and that is aligned with your personality and just your mannerisms. I'll
Yeah.
tell you a little story of when I basically was at university, right? I moved to a city that was super small and not overly multicultural. And even though it was a good school, I just didn't feel like I belonged. Versus when I went into, another city, a big city, actually Montreal, I was psyched. Like I was having a blast. And so, um, it actually impacted my ability to even be more productive, to get good grades. My grades skyrocketed just because of the environment. And of course, they had in Montreal, there's a big Middle Eastern population. I was getting so homesick. I craved, the food. And so, yeah, I was much happier. So I applaud you in terms of doing your research and determining, what, this is a location where I will thrive the most, and that's going to bring me joy.
And I've been there, like I go almost every year, and where's my ticket? No, I'm sick. I want to stay for longer. I don't want to leave Harlem. I love it.
Oh my God, that is a great sign. That is a fabulous sign. It's exactly how I felt when I decided to go to school in Montreal. I would go and visit friends, and I'd be like, I wish I could just stay there. And so it's important to go after what you want. Okay, so the challenge that we're facing here is you want to relocate, and you're going into a new country where you may not know a lot of people. Do you know anyone there?
Yes, I do. I do know. I have like 4 or 5 people that I know. They work there, and yes.
That's absolutely amazing. Or would you say, though, you know more people where you are right now in Egypt than where you are in the Netherlands?
No, of course, in Egypt. I know everybody in Egypt.
Of course. And how were you finding your jobs when you were in Egypt?
Uh, the same way, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. How did you do it? Like, were people just coming to you? Were you doing outreach? What was your approach in terms of finding jobs?
The jobs that I actually took, I applied for.
Beautiful. Fantastic. So you apply to those jobs. Okay, so what are your thoughts? Like, are you thinking of following the same strategy? Like, where's the hesitation here in terms of your approach of finding a job in the Netherlands?
I think it's more challenging, I would say, to get
Mhm.
a job, especially with relocation. That's one thing. So relocation, and I talked to a consultant in Netherlands. She was convincing me to take like a jobs in product owner and to downgrade my career, and I actually refused to do that
Oh
because I
dear.
deserve to have the job, not to go back with my career. There is not I'm not that desperate to do that, and I don't want to do that. So no compromisation. Good job. I think I deserve this. I might have resume problems, although I optimize my resume like every day and with each job that I apply for, but maybe it's not working.
All right.
So
So
just to summarize, either problem with my resume or problem with the relocation is not easy. Maybe
let's take the lowest hanging fruit just to give you some clarity
yes.
and talk about your resume. Okay. Do you mind if I share it or do you want
Of
me to just read through it?
go ahead.
Share it? Okay, cool. All right. To everyone's benefit here, we're going to do like a spontaneous resume review. And hey, if you ever want your resume reviewed, you can totally come DM me and ask me if you can be on my podcast. And as long as you're okay with me, sharing it and giving you advice, live, then I'm happy to do that. Okay, so I'm a certified resume writer. I've been writing resumes professionally for the last 3 years. And I've also been trained as a resume writer. I am part of the International Association of Career Coaches, and I've been mentored by someone who's been a VP of HR, an executive recruiter, an internal recruiter for over 20 years. So I've learned the best practices on how to do that. Now, the great thing for you that's working out for you right now, Selma, is I'm also, a product leader. I have a
Yes.
background in product management, so I understand the space. So unlike, more like a generalized, resume writer, I have a lot of context in terms of what hiring managers look for. And I help a lot of people get into product and get into uh, director of product level. Okay, so off the bat, I'm seeing that your resume is basically, it's in plain format, which to me isn't a big deal. I know that there's this whole thing about, hey, you need to have your resume in plain format because it needs to break through ATS. So I'm going to start with that first and say that
What's
that is
ATS?
application tracking system.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to bust that myth and say that resumes are actually screened by a human eye, right? Someone actually reads the resume. There isn't some bot or some, keyword matching that happens in the back end. HR systems, and I know how they work because I've interviewed a lot of, vendors um, who sell application tracking systems. And they've explained to me in terms of how it works and how the logic works. And I've also talked to a lot of recruiters. And what they tell me is that usually they'll have a team who actually screens resumes. A lot of the times they are offshore. And how they'll screen your resume is they're going to look at it against the job posting. Okay. And this is why the rejection rate is so high because we assume that whoever is looking at our resume has a lot of context. And the other thing that we assume is that, hey, they should know that I do this because those are typical things that a product manager does. The thing is, they don't know you, right? So we have to assume like we're speaking to a first grader and making sure that we match um, basically what's on match align our experience to what they're looking for. Okay, now the one thing I'm going to say from a structural point of view, Selma, is I always advise people to, and I don't know if you've seen my resume guide on LinkedIn. maybe I need to pull it up real quick because a lot of people have been finding a lot of value in this resume guide. It's basically 7 psychology tricks. Think of them from a UX perspective, okay? In terms of what what works, okay? Um, a lot of people think that listing bullet points is what's going to help them, but the truth is, in my guide, I talk about this. You need to vary your formatting. You need to vary your formatting in terms of helping certain things stand out. So the format that I tend to basically recommend for people to do is to distinguish what they've done from what they've achieved. Here's the deal, right? What you have on here, there are some good numbers, right? You talk about how you've increased the NPS score for the customer by 15 to 20%, right? But it gets lost in all of this stuff. And I would recommend that you would have a paragraph that talks about what is it that you did on the job in relation to what the job posting is asking for. So for example, maybe they'll say we want someone who has the ability to create a product vision. We want someone who has the ability to create a roadmap. We want someone who worked on X, Y, and Z project. I would just talk about all of that because these are things that you did. And then I would use the bullets to highlight and emphasize the impact separately so that they zone in and they see, oh, she was able to grow the user, or she was able to impact, let's say, 1 million customers. Ooh, it's like there, she was able to increase the NPS score by more than 20%. It's right there. They don't have to fish for it, right? And so having that break in formatting is like you're creating a great user experience for your recruiter, and using that pattern throughout your resume is going to help them predict, oh, this part is about what she impacted and this part is what she did. Okay, so that's my first recommendation from a structural perspective. The other thing I'm going to advise you to do, my friend, is I recommend that the dates are not far off the right side. Because here's the thing. A lot of these were short duration positions. And by putting them on the right side, you're drawing too much attention to the fact that you haven't stayed, in some of these roles for a long period of time. Now, my question for you, were these roles contracts or were they full-time opportunities?
Full time. Just one of them was a contract, and it was not renewed.
Okay. Which one was the contract? Was it the Teradata?
I cannot say.
Okay, no worries. Whichever one is the contract, maybe there's a way for you to bundle it under your name or something like that. Okay, because a trick that I give people to basically bundle things under your to basically not trigger that alarm that there are too many short durations is either put it under your name or make it super clear that it was a contract. So
Okay.
that whoever sees it understands that that's the reason it ended. That's the reason it was super short. It's because it was a contract and it was at no fault at you. You can say like,
So 1
manage.
year is a short period.
So sorry?
More or less 1 year is a short period.
Less than 1 year is a short period. Correct. Even less than 2 years, or sorry, yeah, less than 2 years is also a short period. The thing is they're going to look for patterns. If they see like a pattern of, oh, you were on this for a very short period of time, they're going to start wondering what happened. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
that could be a deterrent for someone to interview you.
And do you think this is one of the things that I need to focus on? Maybe not being very honest, like, hey, I got fired because actually for good reasons I'm proud of. But is this something that you openly say to recruiters in interviews, or? No, because I feel that I'm very bold and honest, and not everybody can take that.
Okay. Um, North American culture for sure is you want to be a little more diplomatic, right? And
Okay.
you also want to look, you're a product manager, you understand empathy, right?
I do, big time, yes.
So I want you to empathize with the hiring manager and recruiter and ask yourself the question, would I hire me?
Of
If I
course.
if I mean if I said that, would I hire me? You know what I mean? If I
Yes.
didn't know me, if okay, if you're meeting someone different, if you're meeting someone for the first time and they tell you, let's say, oh yeah, I've been let go from this position or I've been fired. What is your automatic, thought in your head?
I would try to understand what's the reason.
Sure, you would understand what's the reason, but um, you'll maybe and because you're being kind, right? But maybe the automatic thought in someone's head would be there must have been something wrong, and I want to know if it was them or the company. That's the thought that's going to go in their head.
Okay.
And so I definitely recommend that you're honest, right? But I also want you to, from a resume perspective, you want to understand that you're not going to have the opportunity to explain yourself versus in an
Mhm.
interview
That's true.
context.
Yes.
So there will be biases that get formulated just by
Yes.
looking at your resume. And so you want to minimize those biases and then use the interview as the space to explain what happened because you
Mhm.
can't explain yourself when someone is just, it's a one way, you know, communication channel when you send the resume. You send the information, but the person's going to have questions and they're going to have no opportunity to ask you those questions and for you to explain yourself.
Mhm.
So from a resume perspective, I always tell people to find ways to reduce that bias. One of them
Mhm.
is, to me, the dates on the right side. It screams, look at the date. It's short duration. So I recommend bringing it closer to the company name, like putting a comma and then the date. The other thing, and again, like this is hard for me to kind of give you like detailed, specific advice because you're not my client and I have to understand, but you might want to consider ways to bundle some of that experience so that, and explain and find a way to explain why these, durations are short and they've been frequently short. Like why, if you were more like a consultant, if these were short-term gigs, if you were brought in for a short period of time, then you need to make that more obvious versus them interpreting this as, oh, she works somewhere and then she leaves, in less than a year.
Mhm.
So to me, that's the big red flag that I
Okay.
think will make a huge difference in terms of whether you get called to an interview or not. The other thing you may want to consider too is, and because I have worked with a lot of people who relocate to another country, and I think um, first of all, you need to sort out the whole work permit situation. So, are
Mhm.
you eligible to work in the Netherlands right now, or are you
No.
looking for
Actually,
sponsorship?
I have, this is the generic one, but I have for Netherlands, I write up in the above the about section that I need relocation assistance or visa required.
Yeah, so that's going to be a little bit tricky. That's
Okay.
going to be a little bit tricky, and you need to find out and speak to a lawyer to understand how that works. Because in this climate, and I want you to think about it again from a hiring manager's perspective, they will obviously give preference to
Mhm.
someone who does not need assistance
Yes,
because it's
it's
going to cost them less. So
mhm.
if there's a way for you to kind of sort that out on your own versus rely on
Okay.
the employer to take care of that for you,
Mhm.
that's going to be helpful. I've had a client, for example, who was in Mexico and he wanted to land a job in the US versus Canada. And we had to figure out if there is something on his end he could do versus rely on the employer. And we realized that there's an agreement between Mexico and Canada. where he could just go and get that permit on his own and make it super easy for his
Mhm.
company.
Mhm.
So I definitely invite you to consider that. And what we ended up doing is actually not putting the country and the location on the resume, which is Egypt or Mexico or wherever, because he was getting rejected just because of that.
Mhm.
So I see two things that will increase your chances of being rejected. Putting the location outside of Netherlands. I recommend maybe if you qualify for getting some kind of permit, I would recommend that you ask a friend if you're able to use their address. Okay. With the understanding that if you were to relocate, you could stay with them initially, right? And find a way if you're able to take care of those relocation expenses yourself, if you're super, super like adamant about moving.
Mhm.
Um, and the sponsorship would be more of a bonus and a backup.
Okay.
That's my recommendation. But of course, you work with a lawyer to get that
Yes.
sorted out and advice, because I don't give legal advice. I'm giving you just career advice and just letting you know from a qualification perspective, you have a higher chance if you can sort that out on your own versus rely on someone for the
Mhm.
sponsorship.
Mhm. That's true. I have a quick question.
Sure.
Okay, everybody else, Nada, I know you know that I trust you. That's why I'm here today. Okay, but everybody else in the world, they say that the CV has to be 1 or 2 page max and bullets and points. Why the myth? Why everybody else in the world is saying that, and you, with your experience and talking to recruiters, said this is not the best practice. This is actually wrong and might hurt you.
Yeah, it's kind of like when we rely on users to tell us how we need to build products.
Okay.
They may say, I want it built that way, but then you need to say, why do you want it built that way? And
Okay.
understand the why versus letting them dictate the solution. And so, after working with so many recruiters and working with someone who used to be a recruiter, and she explained one of her pet peeves to me was that people would abuse the bullets. They'd have like 10, 20 bullets, and and when she was screening, it was not a great user experience for her. She'd have to go down the list, and it was hard for her to retain
Mhm.
the impactful or the important things that they've done. Think of it as like this humongous product backlog with a list of 1,000 features. Like, what are you going to keep up with? Right?
Yes.
It's better
Mhm.
to have a shorter backlog than a dumping ground. And so think about it from the perspective of someone who's busy and just wants to get the gist of what you've done. They're trying to go through a long list. It's so hard. The other thing why I recommend the paragraph and bullets is because when the recruiter is going through your experience, they just want to quickly scan and see if you've
Mhm.
done what's in the job posting.
Mhm.
And so the paragraph is a nice way to conserve space and to make it easy for them to just quickly subconsciously scan. But where they're going to want to pay attention and where you stand out is actually the achievement. So the
Mhm.
bullet creates a pattern interrupt where you take them from a subconscious state of scanning and going on autopilot and seeing if you have the right keywords. And I hate using that, but whatever, I'll say it. And then the bullet is like, oh, this is why the person is different.
Mhm.
This is why in textbooks, and I'm even going into this rabbit hole from a psychology perspective, from a learning retention perspective. This is why when you're reading a textbook, the stuff that is sort of like, yeah, read it fast, is all written out for you. But then the important things that they want the student to pay attention to and retain are
Mhm.
usually in the form of diagrams.
Mhm.
And any publisher and author will tell you that making that space for those diagrams is actually very expensive, but it's worth doing because
Mhm.
those are the important pieces that they really want the person to retain. So think of your bullets where you've created an impact as the pieces that will differentiate you from someone else, because you are competing against hundreds of other product managers. They've all built roadmaps. they've all prioritized features, but what did you do for the business, right?
Mhm.
How did you help the business? What is the value that you brought into the business to help them become a better business? How did you benefit them? You know, and if it is the fact that you were able to single-handedly improve the customer satisfaction in a way that every single customer rated the product 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, then to me, I want that recreated in my organization, and that is going to resonate with me, and that's what I need to see, versus me reading how you've created the product vision and roadmap. Yeah, that needs to be there, but that's not the reason that's going to make me want to hire you. You know what I mean? So that is the
Yeah,
reason I recommend it that way.
that makes perfect sense.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much for
Thank you
joining
so much for having me.
and being a great, volunteer. So I'm going to go with the next person. All right. Paula, I'm going to bring you in.
Hi there. Hi, Nada.
Hi, Paula. How's it going?
Good, thank you. Lovely to meet you. Thanks for having me. This is a great
Absolutely.
opportunity, so thank you.
For sure. How can I help?
Well, I'm hoping you can help. So I am a Scrum Master. I've been a Scrum Master for about 20 months, so it's a new job for me. I've been with my existing company for a long time. I was in marketing before. I didn't come from a tech background, and this was an opportunity. I'd gone for an interview. It was a secondment, and I got it. So it's been extended once, and now I'm sort of informally on loan from my substantive post to carry on until March next year. We are going through a structural reorganisation, so it's very possible this is a temporary post, that this won't be, in that restructure. It might be somewhere else in the organisation, but there's no guarantees they'll continue. I don't work. I work in a team that's practicing Scrum, but the rest of the organization isn't agile. So this is them sort of, just testing it out. So for me, I'm not sure where to go next. I don't have a community of practice or a network internally with agile. I've been looking outside for a long time with the meetups and webinars and blogs and LinkedIn, as much as I can, but I really miss the sort of, on the job shadowing and the experience and advice that you get from people. But because I've been with my organization for so long, and because I'm pretty loyal, I just at a bit of a crossroads. I'm not sure what to do. I've also got two children, and as I say, it's a career transition. Just relatively new Scrum Master. I've done my PSM1, and I'm literally just sat the course for PSM2 this week. So I don't know. I'm not at a crossroads. I'm not sure what to do. I'd like to explore more about Scrum Master, but I'm not sure whether my organization are going to invest more in Agile. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you for sharing. You're not the only person who battles with the idea of should I stay or should I leave,
Mhm.
right? We often feel like there's a lot of thoughts that go in our head when it comes to that. It's almost like being in a relationship and you're like, did I give that person enough of a chance? And I feel you're going through that right now where you're like,
Yeah.
am I being too picky? Am I, giving my organization a chance? Is it me? Do I need to do more? Um, and maybe the problem is me. Like all of this is going in your head right now. First of all, congratulations on breaking into the field of Scrum Master. That is a feat that a lot of people struggle with. So you did one of the hardest things, which is break into the field. And you've been doing it what for over a year
Uh,
and a half?
yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, it'll be 2 years in October. So yeah.
Beautiful. So that's a great accomplishment. Okay, from a Scrum Master perspective, from a roles and responsibilities perspective, would you say that you enjoy what you do more than before?
I think I enjoy it in different ways. So it's allowed me to sort of look at how to support a team and look at team dynamics and the psychology a lot more than I had people management skills, and that helped me transition, but a lot more than I've been able to do in the past, which has been great. And try out servant leadership. and seeing how you can deliver through a team more so than leading a team. So I've really enjoyed that and helping the team grow. And I think the struggle I have is whether or not, because people ask me a few times that know me, do you enjoy what you're doing now you've changed? And I'm like, it's really hard for me to say because I'm not sure whether I'm fully maximizing the role because I'm not working in an agile organization. So I sort of feel like I'm just dipping my toe in the water as well. And because I'm doing it by myself, I'm basically anything that I do is through self-learning, and I can only, read books or go to meetups, and that learning's quite slow compared to maybe if I was in an organization where you're working as part of an agile network. So I do enjoy it. I think there's some aspects that I'm I'm maybe struggling with more so. So, when I think about projects that I really enjoyed before, it has been where I've been leading the project from my specialism. But I think that's also because I'm not I had like 20 years worth of marketing experience there, and now I've only got like less than 2 years. So I feel like I'm starting again. So I don't feel like I'm on that level, the same level as what I was when I was a marketer. So I think
There's
it's a
that
hard question
element
to
of
ask.
imposter
Yeah,
syndrome
answer.
kicking in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
Okay.
feel like I'm too junior almost.
Yeah. So I got a clarifying clarification question for you. So, because I have a career archetype quiz, and usually I have these diagnostic questions that help me understand people better in terms of if this is their sweet spot or if there's something else. So my question to you is, you're working in an environment where there's a team that's building some kind of digital product, right?
They're building a website, and they're consolidating. They were different organizations that came together, and we're consolidating a lot of legacy websites as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So
it's web
super.
development. Yeah,
You're in an environment where some kind of digital product is being built. Great.
yeah.
So in that environment, what do you care about the most? Do you care more about the customer, or do you care more about, do you care more about the customer and solving their problems, or do you care more about the team, their effectiveness, and giving them the right process in order to thrive? Where do you lean more into?
It's a very good question. I lean more into the team at the
Mm,
moment, and I think I do like that part of it. I
mhm.
love that part of it, and seeing how we can be more effective and deliver more value. I think I, if I had more experience, because I don't have the technical background, because I can't do the customer side. So it's kind of helpful in some ways, because as Scrum Master, I can't do the developers' jobs
Yeah,
because I
absolutely.
actually don't have that experience. It might be different if we were working in a marketing environment using Scrum. I might then say that I'd quite like to solve the customer problems because I'm quite hands-on, and
Mhm.
so I would like to go and do that myself. But because I don't have that technical expertise at the moment, I lean more towards the team because we need to do that through the team. I can't do that for them because I don't have that background.
Gotcha. But are you doing it because of you not having the competency in terms of building the product, or are you doing it because you enjoy that?
I enjoy it. It's a good question, but I don't know. I swither. I think that's difficulty. I think
Do you
because
miss do you miss having your
yeah,
hands in the product?
I miss that. Yeah, I miss being able to do it and deliver. I do miss that. But it's a difficult one. Yeah, yeah.
And here's another question for you. Are you passionate about the product that you're working on right now?
Mm, no, I don't think so. Is that a bad thing to say?
Let's be honest. Look, there's nothing wrong with that. I've had a long history of financial services, and I wasn't passionate about financial services.
Yeah,
And when I switched products, I was so excited. I feel like I
yeah,
was more fulfilled. And so you're uncovering things about yourself that you're realizing.
yeah.
You're realizing that, you know what? Part of why I'm questioning whether I should stay or leave,
Mhm.
whenever people question things, I tell them that is a sign that you need to make a change.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't always have to be a drastic change. And I think
No,
that's why we get scared, feel we have to like start over, or oh my god, now I shouldn't be a scrum master, I have to go back to square one. No,
Mhm.
you got to just recognize out of this experience what part of it is not resonating with you, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I know you worked so hard into getting into scrum master, and maybe that is what's kind of scaring you. Like, I worked
Mm.
so hard to become a scrum master and now I'm questioning it, right? There's nothing wrong with that, because I always tell people that sometimes you go into a role that gets you closer to the ideal role that you need to do. It's like
Mhm.
you're doing it iteratively, just like how in
Yeah.
agile we get closer to the ideal product iteratively.
Yeah.
So I think for you, I definitely would start thinking about what type of products you would get excited about. Maybe it
Okay.
is a matter of just finding that right product.
Mhm.
I do feel that you need to answer that question of, do I want my
Mm.
hands in the product, or do I want to just work with teams and give them the right process? That question is
Yeah.
critical for me, because that is the determinant factor in terms of whether you should stay as a scrum master or move into a more product adjacent role.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then yeah, those are the two things I think that I
Okay.
think, I don't want to overwhelm you, but those are the two things that I think
Mm.
you should think about. And I
Yeah.
would do a little bit of an audit of your role at the moment.
Okay.
List down the activities that get you excited, list down the activities that you wish you could outsource, and that
Yeah.
will help you clarify the answer
Okay.
a bit more. Is that helpful?
Yes, it is helpful. Thank you very much, Nada.
You're
Really
very welcome.
appreciate
And feel
it.
free to, connect with me over a virtual coffee if you like as
Cool.
well.
Will do. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's great.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Sarah, we're going to bring you on stage if you're ready. You want to unmute yourself and yeah, share with us, what's going on. How can I help? What is the burning question that you have on your mind?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Um, so yeah, I think I have a little bit of a mix on both cases that I was listening before. So a bit of a context. I came to the US in 2016. I'm from Mexico, and I stayed at my job for 3 years. The people that brought me in, they brought me with a TN visa. I work it all out, all those details for Mexicans to come here to the US, and it worked great. But then I realized that I wanted to move into a Scrum Master role. I transitioned from a quality assurance test manager position into Scrum Master. And I fell in love with Agile and all that world of continuous improvement. So I started looking for jobs as a Scrum Master. I landed a job that I stayed only for 4 months because the team that I was working with, it was not good for me. I was not the right environment. So I was lucky enough to have another job offer that aligned, and I jumped on it. So I was working at this other company, and I was very, very excited, super stimulated. I was driving the agile transformation for it and super motivated about that. So when it was the performance review, I was expecting to have like a big recognition or promotion, right? So long story short, that was put on hold because I was told that I didn't have what it took for me to manage or have more responsibility as a program manager. So I started questioning, like, is that true? So I applied to a role for program manager, and 3 weeks later, I got an offer for a program manager. So I was actually looking to be able to use that as leverage at the previous company I was working with, but uh, the things didn't work out. When I gave the notice, they were like, "Oh yeah, you should go and take it, and good luck." So that's why I had to leave that company, and I started working at this other company, getting a lot more exposure, good recognition, but I was not in love with the product. I had a big gap. The previous company I was working with, it was in the medical device industry, so it was something that I was giving back to the community. So it had like a more meaningful purpose. So this other company, it was great. The culture was great. The pay was better. but I had that missing part. So I start wondering, like, maybe there's something out there that can fulfill that space that I don't have, right? So that's how I ended up a year later getting an offer in what it was my dream company. Like, I am super, this company, it's a bigger company. I've been using their products for so many years, so I'm a fan of those products, right? However, so I got a role that was aligned with my career goals: Scrum Master, Program Manager, Agile opportunity. All of that aligned and resonated with me so hard. So I was like, I'm landing on a cloud. Economy happened, layoffs start happening. That impacted my current company, and we had a big reduction in force, and that also not only impacted my team directly but also my role. So it had changed at 360 degrees of what it was when I was brought in. So I don't like feeling like I'm not doing anything, like I'm not doing, I don't have a purpose, or that I'm not making a difference. So using LinkedIn, I connected with a couple of program managers. We exchanged point of views, and we start talking about our companies. And this other person shared with me very interesting insights. And a week later, I saw a agile program manager role. So it dragged my attention that it had the word agile, and I'm like, I'm just wonder, like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So put a referral for me. I got into the screening process and I got an offer yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm in a point that I'm struggling because I work so hard to land in this dream job company, but it's not aligning with my professional aspirations as my career, right? It's like, should I stay here for the name and the brand and just wait? But it's been almost like 4 months that I've been in this gray area of me feeling unmotivated, a little sad, and like, what is the difference if I don't show up to work today or tomorrow, right? So I lost my motivation big time.
Wow.
So I'm wondering, like, I worked so hard to get into this company. Should I just drop it off and jump on this other opportunity that sounds super exciting? The culture and everything sounds very similar to what I have right now, but it's a different product, right? Like, am I gonna go back and feeling like I'm not super engaged or super in love with our products, or how I can, so that's why I'm struggling. Like, yeah, I will take it because professionally speaking is what I want, but I don't know.
Sarah, you've been through a lot, and I can tell that you are a very proactive person. And just like you are a great program and project manager on the job, being a driver and, setting the path for people to succeed, you're using that same approach in your career where you're not just sitting back, you're actually trying to figure out what's going on, the reason that you're blocked, and you're going and reaching out to other people and having conversations with them. And I applaud you for doing that, because a lot of people ignore how they feel and they just go about their day, and you're not that person. And I really love that about you. And I think that should never change. Okay. Now, what are some of the reasons that got you so attracted to this job that you're in right now that used to be your dream job? What were the reasons that you decided that was your dream job?
So like I said, first the products, right? They were part of my day-to-day life. And I was like, it makes just sense for me to be part of this company. The other one was the job description. It was a hybrid role, like you are a program manager, but you also will be driving the agile and Scrum Master part of it. So you will be able to decide to drive that effort about agility. So we had communities of practice, and we were sharing all about agile. We had book clubs about agile. We were engaging on LinkedIn comments. So it was we had a very nice agile community, but that was impacted. So all the people that were part of that agile world were let go, and that's not happening anymore, right? So that's why I'm like, it's completely different from when I started.
Okay, beautiful. I love that you gave me those 3 reasons in a very concise way. So I mentioned earlier that I have a career archetype quiz that's based on a model that I built that help people decide whether a role is right for them and what their sweet spot is. And in that model, I base it on 3 questions. What are the types of problems you enjoy solving? What is your collaboration style? And what impact would you like to make? And you literally just told me those 3 things when we just talked. So, types of problems you enjoy solving, it sounds like, well, let's answer this together. It sounds like you do care about the product. You care about what type of product you're working on. It has to be a product that you believe in. Now, the question I'm going to ask you, because you mentioned it is a hybrid role where you get to drive, the product and not just work with the team. So do you care more about solving customer problems and being part of deciding what goes into the product? Or do you care more about working with the team and giving them a good process? What do you care about the most?
So I think that's why I love being in this role, because I have the best of both worlds, right?
You get to do both.
Yes, I can focus on making sure that our team is working on the right things at the right time, and also that we have that safe environment for them to engage with their collaboration and grow their skills. So that's why I'm like, that's what I'm looking for in a new role. And that was taken away here because all the...
Of the restructuring.
With the restructure, yeah, it was mentioned that all the Scrum Mastering was going to be transitioned to the engineering managers. And that was like, a big downside for me.
So I have a question for you. This new opportunity where they gave you the offer, is it a product that you're excited about?
I think the industry is different because it's in marketing, but for a very specific product that I'm not super familiarized with, but it's interesting in that sense.
Okay, so the product is interesting. From a competency mastery perspective, you don't understand it that well. That could change, right? But I think that piece is important to note, because for you, it's important that you actually enjoy the product. If you don't, you're not going to be happy. And so that's a decision-making criteria that you need to establish for yourself. I won't be able to answer this question for you, whether you should take the job or not. But what I can do is give you a tool to help you make that decision. And as part of this tool that I'm saying is assess whether you will enjoy working on this product and whether you believe in it. Okay, now the second criteria, which is a big thing for you, is that you are part of a community. And that is the part of the equation, other than what types of problems you enjoy solving, is how do you enjoy interacting with others? And it sounds to me like you're the kind of person who enjoys being part of a community. The collaboration aspect is important to you. Will this new role provide you that opportunity?
Yes. Yeah, that was something that I was very curious about to get to know. Like, what is the opportunity for engaging? And also to extend the agile communities of practice So what is the most appealing part is that this company is very new into agile ways of working. So they want to bring somebody that can drive that and instill that ways of working across the marketing organization. So it sounds like a very great opportunity for me to keep doing what I'm doing, and not only that, but build it,
That
uh,
is amazing.
engaging with other people. Yes.
That is amazing. And is the salary better than the previous than the salary that you have right now?
Yes, it's a little bit better. Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds to me like a lot of these factors that you were missing or that you used to have in your current company and no longer have are going to be fulfilled. Correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like they will be fulfilled by this new organization. Am I
Yes.
right? Cool. So where's the hesitation?
That I've been here for like a year and a couple of months. And before that, I was also just a year in the previous one. And before that, only just a year and a couple of months.
Who
So
cares? Who cares? I'm going to give you an analogy.
Yeah.
It's like someone who's been dating. Okay. And they're in 1 year relationships. Isn't it better that they leave after a year than end up marrying the person for 10 years and then divorcing them?
Right.
So the thing is, things happen. You didn't know that this company was going to go through a reorg or restructuring. You didn't know that. And it's okay to leave a relationship if the dynamics of the relationships have changed.
Mm.
You entered the relationship on the premise that this is a product that you're passionate about and that you would work in this collaborative environment and be part of a community. The people that you enjoyed working with are gone. And also the nature of the composition of the problems that you're solving has changed. And
Yeah.
so it's normal that you don't feel fulfilled. And I don't think you should be angry at yourself or be mad at yourself or feel guilty for leaving. And I know that I tell people that short durations create a red flag, but if you have a compelling reason as to why you left, and if it is a career progression, which sounds to me like it is going to be because you're going to be driving things, then there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. If you feel, you got to ask yourself, does this feel good to me? And if the answer is yes, then I would go with that feeling, with that gut feeling. If you're not doing it because of what people are going to think, then that is not the right decision. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, definitely.
Beautiful. All right, my friend. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for being part of that conversation. If you need, additional help, feel free to reach out to me. We can totally have a virtual coffee. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. For those of you who have tuned in live, thank you so much. For those of you who are watching the replay, thank you so much for sticking around till the end. There's a lot of great questions, and a lot of you, have similar questions and have faced or maybe facing the same thing that the guests, are facing. And so it's great that, we're all learning from each other, because when someone, attends, my podcast and becomes a guest, it's always like when you're in a classroom and everyone has that question, but they're too scared to ask it. And then someone brave, raises their hand, and they end up doing a favor to the millions out there who have that same question. That's what happens, right? And this idea that came to me, I'm a product manager, so I'm an idea generator, came to me because I realized that all of you tend to have the same questions. There's always someone out there who has a similar question, and I don't have the capacity to jump on 100 one-on-ones every day. So this is where I had to think outside of the box and think to myself, what if I had a call-in show where people can anonymously turn off their camera, even change their first name, and ask me a question better than them percolating and dealing with the anxiety on their own? So if you know someone who might benefit from this, encourage them to reach out to me. If you feel that you could benefit from this, reach out to me and we'll arrange for you to hop in. And then the other thing I want to say is if you want to watch the replay and if you want to watch the other episodes, then feel free to go on my website, nadabuhendi.com/podcast. That is a direct link for all of the episodes. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have an amazing rest of your workday.